Hey, how you doing? I am very tired. It is, I think it's gotta be 3:45 a.m. at the time that I'm recording this. I went out to see my sister and her kids, and she is located approximately an hour and 45 minutes away. And I just got back with my other sister and did all of my nightly prep and everything so that as soon as this video goes off, I am going to bed. But I was so excited, even as I was like, oh my gosh, we're 5 minutes from home, thank God, because I was starting to get really tired. I was really looking forward to sitting down and doing this video this evening. I'm telling you, I don't know what it is about this process of recording these videos, but there has got to be something in it. There has to be something. Let me see if I can turn up the brightness on my phone without stopping this video. Yay! So I can actually see and make sure that if there's anything on my face, I can get it if need be. So as per usual, I like to start with my little crystal mopal. I actually thought potentially I would end up staying out by my sister's because of how late it was. And so we packed go bags, which for those of you that don't know, those are bags that you pack so that if you are in a predicament where you have to stay overnight, you have a bag that has all of your stuff in it. So if you don't have one of those and you're a person who, excuse me, and you're a person who likes to go places, or like you find yourself sometimes staying over at people's houses kind of last minute, you should have like a bag that is specifically one that you do not use every day, like a small duffel, and put like a change of day clothes in there, put something you can sleep in there, and then like little travel sized toiletries in there. And then when you go places, if like an emergency happens, you know, if you get something spilled all over your clothes, or I went to go see my sister and her kids are all under the age of 10. So, you know, if any food or drinks or anything spilled on our clothes or anything like that, and they're also outdoorsy girls, they like to run around out in the Florida sand in the backyard, because we don't have dirt here, we have sand. And it's just really nice to have just in case. I personally prefer to be at home when I am local. Like if I'm in the state that my house is in, I'd prefer to be in my house or like a hotel or something. I don't mind couch hopping. I've actually done it. But I personally just prefer to be in places where I like know where all my toiletries are, you know, for my eczema and stuff. And I am a pretty big routine person when it comes to how I prep to go to bed. So yeah, I'm very happy to be back home. That shower was immaculate. I'm telling you, the ritual of getting in that shower and taking 5 deep breaths and just going through kind of my day and just kind of decompressing and relaxing my mind is such an amazing experience, and I recommend everybody really. Hey, 4 minutes and 23 seconds. As I say that, 23 is one of my lucky numbers, so I recommend you get into the ritual of showering in a way that makes you feel good about yourself. I almost forgot. Go get you some water. I am a big 4 minutes and 44 seconds as I say this. I'm a big proponent of people drinking water. What's interesting though is I had an idea. I bought a bottle of, I think it's pronounced Hanjan, which is it's like soju, which is Korean alcohol. And I was thinking at some point when I do one of these videos, I will do one of these videos while having a little bit of that, you know, just kind of as a little treat while I'm doing this. But because these are all unscripted, I have not done that, and I am not to do that unless I move to. It was an idea that I had. I have a lot of ideas for what to do during these videos, but that I never act on them unless I am moved to. water is nice and crispy. Ah, man, today, the past couple of days, I have been very low energy. And it's been that way like all day. So this type of energy that I have right now, and I can barely keep my eyes open, that is how I have felt all week. Then come to find out, a bunch of other people feel this way. And so I was like, is it because the new moon is coming up? At the time that I'm recording this, the new moon, I believe, is in like 2 days. And usually, for those of you who don't know, but who are interested in what goes on with the moon, typically the moon has its whole cycle where it goes from a full moon all the way down to a new moon, and then the new moon all the way back up to a full moon, is usually how that works. And the new moon is actually a really great time to release the things that no longer serve you. It's a really good time to refocus on the things that you are wanting in your life, the things that you're wanting to manifest or you're wanting to focus on, and to just kind of declutter your space. It's interesting because like it is that time of the month for me, and it's interesting because that time of the month for me is synced up to the moon cycle. So whenever there's a new moon, I'm like, okay, so this week it's going to be nothing but rest, taking it easy. 7 minutes and 17 seconds as I say that. So those of you who have periods, I typically use that week as a way to reconnect with self. I find that in the busyness and the hustle and bustle of life, it can be difficult to take the time you need. So even if you're not a person who has this time of the month, when you get sick or when you're in a place where you're kind of forced to rest, take that time. That time is actually a blessing in disguise, because we are so used to running. And taking time when you should, when your body is saying, hey, I've had enough of this constant running. This is not what we're built for. Like, this is not sustainable. You need your rest. During that time, I typically will do little things for myself. So take an extra nap during the day. Like, I don't usually take a nap because of the way my sleep schedule works, but during these times, or when I'm sick or not feeling well, if I can take a nap, I'll take a nap. I remember I'd be at work and not feeling well because, you know, there are a lot of jobs that if you're not feeling well, they don't care. So they're like, you still come in. So I would come into work, and then on my lunch break, I actually brought a blanket and like a small pillow, and I crawled up under my desk because I'm 5'2". So I would crawl up under my desk and I would just make myself a tiny pallet and I would sleep through my lunch. And it was the most glorious decision I ever made. And I did that because I A, didn't have a car because I lived in Boston, and then B, I lived too far to go home, like during my lunch. And, you know, 9 minutes and 9 seconds. So maybe if you're a person who your work situation, you're like, ugh, how do I find time to sleep and to rest? I have slept under my desk. I actually have, I'm not going to lie to you, vulnerability time. In situations where my workspace was not one where I could do that, or the floor was just despicable, I would go to the bathroom and I would like lay out, like, you know, a little toilet paper on the seat and everything so that everything's clear. And typically in every place that I've worked, the bathroom has been pretty neat. So this is why I don't mind doing it. But I would go and I would take a nap in there, like during my lunch break, because for me, rest is so crucial. I would take it when I needed it. I also love sleep. I adore sleep. Like, sleep is just, it's like an old friend. Whenever I'm like going down, I'm like, oh my God, yes. Nice to see you again. Come in. Like, it's such a pleasant experience. But yeah, like during times where your body forces you into rest, you should take it. I really think you should take it. My mom is a runner, so she runs. She's very busy all the time, and because she travels as much as she does, she tends to get sick. And so when she does get sick, she in the past has tried to keep working through it, and her body just makes it impossible. And I'm like, you are literally watching your body tell you what it needs, and you're ignoring it, and then it's breaking down even more to force you into a position where you have to rest. And I know some people are like, well, I want to push through, I want to get this work done, but I'm here to tell you that the work will always be there. Your inbox. I heard this somewhere. It was it was back when I first started working. Like, I was like 16, 17. And when I first started working, one of the managers at the retail store that I worked at, he was like, listen, take the time that you need to take because your inbox will always be full. And I was like, well, what does that mean? And I know some of you may have already heard this, but essentially what he was saying was that when it comes to working, there will always be more work to do. There will always be emails, there will always be text messages, there will always be phone calls, there will always be more jobs to be done in the job that you work in. So take the time to rest because it's going to be there when you get back. I used to, like, I'd skip lunch sometimes because I'd be meaning to take my lunch, but then I would say, well, let me reply to one more email, or let me process this paperwork for just another employee. Like, I'll get it done and then I'll go to lunch, and then I'd be like, oh, well, there's just one more, I've only got 2 more in my inbox, so let me go ahead and finish up these 2, and then right as I would be finishing up the last one, 3 more would come through, and then I would miss my lunches. 12 minutes and 23 seconds as I'm saying that. So somebody out there, I get that you want to achieve, I get that you want to be successful, and I get that you want to work hard. With that being said, it is okay if you pull back a little bit. It's okay. If you're watching this video right now, it's okay that you pull back a little bit. If there's a person who doesn't need to pull back, they're probably not watching this video. Or you heard that and it doesn't resonate with you at all. If it resonates, like if it slaps and you're like, fuck yeah, then this is for you. Take some time for yourself. And typically when I say that, people will say, oh, well, I can't afford to take that much time. I got kids, I got work, I've got all this stuff to do. 10 to 15 minutes of just sitting somewhere and taking some deep breaths actually will do wonders for you. You'd be surprised. And you find in your entire day, you're like, well, 10 minutes isn't going to mean anything. Well, start with 10 minutes. Start with 10 minutes a day. Start with 10 minutes a day of you just taking some breaths and saying, I'm not answering phone calls, I'm not answering text messages for this 10 minutes that I am going to sit here and breathe and just kind of rest in my body. And then the more comfortable you get with that, then I challenge you to do another 10 minutes. So do a session of 10 minutes, and then at some point in the day, do another session of 10 minutes. And I would encourage you to do that. There are ways around a lot of the busyness that we do in our lives. And oftentimes, because we feel trapped in those situations, or we feel trapped in the way, 14 minutes and 14 seconds as I say this, so this is for somebody. Sometimes we feel trapped in our predicament, whether it be trapped in the house, whether it be trapped in a job, whether it be trapped in a relationship, whether it be trapped in a way of thinking, a fear mindset, a scarcity mindset, a mindset of there's not enough, I'll never be loved, I won't be successful. In any of those areas where you feel trapped, there are ways for you to take your power back in those situations. And when I say take your power back, I know a lot of you already know what I mean, but I'm going to say this for the people who don't know, or who may not know, or who may need to hear it again. Taking your power back, to me, means doing things throughout your day that is for you. It is not for anybody else. It is not to please anybody else. It's not to get kudos. It's not to get validation. Valiant? Valiant. That is a word. But I can't remember what it means. That term may be important to someone. I find that like slips of the tongue sometimes will bring forward certain thoughts, or it will grab like my attention. Like I'll be watching other videos where people are doing readings or something, or they're talking about, you know, just kind of like prophesizing, or, you know, it'll be like a TED talk or something, and they'll slip up and say a word, and sometimes I'm like, oh, I needed to hear that. So now I'm gonna try to make sure that if I slip up, I'll just say what it is that like came to mind. But taking your power back is important, because currently in this, and I believe there's a movement where this has been happening for a while, so I don't think it's something that it's like it's just starting now. No, this has been in the process of happening for a long time, where people have started to take their power back in very small ways. So I'm noticing a lot more people are taking their PTO. It used to be that a lot of people would get PTO from their job and then not use it. And it's like, oh, well, are you trying to roll over the PTO so that you can have longer? And they'd be like, no, I just feel like I am doing the work. You know, I don't get sick. I don't need to take the PTO. So I just kind of have it. And, you know, how much better rewarded, how much more validation will I have? I was going to say valedictorian. So if there's somebody watching this and you were valedictorian of your class, first off, I was also valedictorian of my class. Hey-o. It's funny because I almost was put on academic probation in undergrad. And for those of you that don't know what that is, essentially, I was about to be kicked out of school because my grade point average was very, very low. But when I got to Full Sail, I actually cared about the work that I was doing and I found it interesting. And so I went from being I almost got kicked out of class student to being valedictorian of my class, which is essentially the person with the highest grade point average, which at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter. It's like we were all there, we were all doing the work. As long as we're all here graduating, that's what matters. But if you are a person who is an overachiever, taking your power back is incredibly important. And like I was saying, and I can't remember at what point I interrupted myself, but taking your power back can be in a lot of different forms. And one of the ways that you can do this is by taking breaks throughout your day, or finding ways to do your work differently. When I was in class at, well, the location doesn't matter. When I was taking classes, I have been in school pretty consistently. My family, I have a family of academics. I have a family of professors. Almost everybody teaches or wants to teach. And the thing about schoolwork is that I started to become, at one point, I started to become really overwhelmed with the work I was doing. I was like, I have so much work to do and not enough time to do it. And this happened at Full Sail. For those of you that don't know, Full Sail works on an accelerated program basis, which just essentially means that every 2 years is actually 1 year. So instead of it being a 4-year college where you would get like your bachelor's, or, you know, well, your bachelor's would take you 4 years to get, at Full Sail, it only takes 2. And it's because the breaks are all shorter, and because you're actually doing more like tests and papers and stuff back to back to back, versus having a couple of weeks where it's like, oh, you're preparing for this paper you're going to write. No, at Full Sail, you're writing a paper like every week. And it really does depend on the path that you take. So I don't want to scare anybody. It really depends on the path that you take, like the, what do they call it? The degree path that you take. And I started to become really overwhelmed my second month in class. I was like, this is a lot. I don't have enough time. I was clocking about 10 hours a day of doing schoolwork, and I did my classes online. So I was doing 10 hours a day, and I was exhausted. I was very burnt out. I was like, this is ridiculous. So my dad sat me down and he said, can I ask you a question? I was like, yeah, what's up? And this is for somebody watching this video. He said, before I continue, let me get some water. Ooh, excuse me, so thirsty. He said, can I ask you a question? He said, on, like, how many hours is it taking you to do your schoolwork? And I was like, well, it's taking around 10. It's a lot. Like, it's a lot for me, and I don't know if I'm going to be able to finish the program. I think I might have to drop out. I think this was a mistake. I don't think I was meant to be in entertainment. I don't think I'm going to succeed. And he was like, so I want to give you a challenge, and I just want you to do it this week. And I was like, okay, so I find it really funny that you think this is a game, that I could just take a week to explore when I just told you that I'm stressed as fuck. And he was like, I know. And he said, I want to challenge you to, instead of spending 10 hours on the work, I want you to cut it back to 2. And you heard me right. When he said, cut it back to 2, I looked at him and I was like, so first off, you're crazy. Second off, I don't understand what you're saying, so I am going to take it as disrespect. And we're going to have to squabble. Like, let's go. I was offended. I was like, so I'm telling you it's taking me 10 hours and you're challenging me for it to only take 2? And he was like, yeah. He was like, I want you to see if you can do it. And I was like, why? And he's like, because I feel like you're actually wasting a lot of time. He said, I don't know how, but I have a feeling you're wasting a lot of time. And so he was like, when you start your schoolwork next week on Monday, when you start it, I want you to take note of everything that you're doing. And I was like, okay. So I did that. So Monday came around and I noticed I was wasting a lot of time by checking and rechecking and rechecking and rechecking and rechecking work. 22 minutes and 22 seconds as I say this. So if there's somebody watching this and you have a habit of doing this, part of the reason that you are checking and rechecking is because you are doubting your intelligence. You're doubting the work that you're doing. The odds are very high that if you are watching this video at this time, and when it was 22 minutes and 22 seconds when I said that, the odds are that you actually do not have to be checking as often as you're checking. You're the type of person who is trying to proof emails 30, 40, 50 times before you send them, and the email is one singular sentence. Like, that's who I'm talking to right now. And I was like, okay, that's weird, because checking that many times is adding up. It's minutes, and then then it's 15 minutes of me checking, and I'm not working. And I was like, okay. So I noticed that. I also noticed as I was working that I would start to, as I was reading or as I was typing, I would start rereading the same sentence over and over again, or I would be typing and messing up and trying to retype, and that was wasting time. And I was like, I don't know how I'm going to fix that. And I think the last thing I noticed was that I spent a lot of time trying to perfect certain things. So if I was creating a PowerPoint for a project, I would spend a few minutes getting together the information, but then I would spend more than half of my time on that PowerPoint working on how it looked. And I wanted it to be absolutely perfect. I wanted it to be something I would be proud to call mine, something that would get me hired in the field. I was really dedicated. So then Monday comes and goes, and I reviewed everything, and I realized I was wasting about 4 of the 10 hours not actually doing the work. I wasn't actually working in at least 4 of the 10. And I know that's crazy, right? That's crazy. It's crazy. So 4 out of 10, 6 hours left. So on Monday, I managed to only do about 6 hours of work. Well, not on Monday. I recognized that on Monday, so I did like the full 10 on Monday. On Tuesday, I did 6. Because on Monday, at the end of the day, I was like, okay, so here's my game plan for tomorrow. I was able to knock it down to 6 hours. After that, I started to realize there were other things that I was doing that was wasting time. And when I say wasting time, what I mean is I didn't have to be doing it, but I kept feeling like I should. So I would take more time than was necessary to do something because I felt like that was what I was supposed to be doing. 25 minutes and 25 seconds as I say this, so this is going to be significant for someone. Someone watching this video, you are doing far too much with far little benefit. You're paying a lot for a very little return on your investment. You're investing a lot and you're getting very little back. And I find that this happens with a lot of people who have jobs that they don't care for. They're investing a lot. And when I say a lot, I'm not just talking about the manual labor of the job or the mental, focus of the job. People are investing their thought outside of work into that as well. If you're at a job that you don't want to be at, thinking about that job when you are not there, you're doing that. You're allowing that job to be sitting on your mind when that is your time. And I get that it's hard to come out of that. I've been there. I get it. Shit's tough, homie. Shit is tough. But again, the idea here is, and I had no idea this was going to be the message for tonight, but the idea is that you want to get to a place where you are doing things to take back your power. So I told that story about my schoolwork as like a precursor to this. There are ways that you can decrease the amount of work that you're doing to get similar, if not the same results that you would have gotten earlier. There are tools that you can use. There are apps, there are websites. There are things that you can use that will boost you and that will help you. Now, I get that there's some people who want to play on hard mode when it comes to life. They're very dedicated. These are your Dark Souls and your Bloodborne players. These are your people who play God of War on hard mode. Let's see. These are the people who they really are all about the tough times. And I respect that. I actually find that incredibly sexy. For a person to be like, no, I want to do this difficult thing because it's going to be so satisfying when I get it done. Like, I love watching Dark Souls and Bloodborne playthroughs. I love watching somebody be like, I'm going to completely nerf all of my abilities and I'm only going to fight using this one weapon and I'm going to absolutely dome every boss in this level. Bro, I'd be getting very excited when I see gamers doing something well. Speedrunners, bro, this is actually one of the reasons I have a crush. I have a crush on the YouTuber / streamer Pezzy. It's one of the reasons I have such a big crush on him, because the way he speedruns stuff is just so impressive. And I love how he'll be like, this sucks, I don't want to do it, and then he's like, okay, I'm gonna do it, and it just makes me laugh every time. Again, if you're interested in his channel, I'm not going to remember by the end of this video, but if you're interested in video games and watching like a speedrunner and some jokes, and he actually does a lot of horror game playthroughs that I enjoy watching. I think the name is spelled P-E-Z-Z-Y, and you can just type that in and do like speedrun, and then his channel pops up. And he's got really funny stuff on there, and there's some interesting gameplay and stuff like that too. Again, don't know him, don't know most of the people who I recommend. It's just media that I take in that I like to share with you all. But there are people who want to play life on hard mode, and that's totally fine if that's what you want to do. But you are not a basic bitch, you're not a baby, you're not a wuss, you're not a wimp, you're not weak for using resources that are at your disposal to make life easier for yourself. One of the biggest complaints that I heard when it started to become more publicly when mental illness became more publicly discussed, the biggest complaint that I heard was, grow up. Why do you need these things? Why do you need headphones? Why do you need this crutch? Why do you need? First off, why do you care if somebody else needs something in order to make life easier for them? That is a classic case of mind your fucking business. That's what I would say to those people. Just mind your business. Because if a young person or an older person realizes, oh yeah, so I'm actually really sensitive to noises, so I wear headphones when I go out. What is that doing to you? They're making life easier for themselves. I do have a theory though. One of my theories is one of the possible reasons why people get really butthurt about the newer generations actually taking note of their bodies, taking note of their mental health, and doing things to support themselves is that older generations, or like millennials like myself and elder millennials, are jealous in some cases of the fact that the younger generations actually take themselves, like they actually care to take care of themselves. Because we felt like we couldn't do that. Like, as a millennial, I felt like pull yourself up by your bootstraps, suck it up, stop crying before I give you something to cry about. Like, I grew up in a situation where it was like, life was hard for me, it's gonna be hard for you, grow the fuck up. But I think the whole point of getting to a place where you are more at peace and getting to a place where you care about other people is you care about community, and you care about making things easier for the next generations. Life is going to be hard. Don't get it twisted. Just because people are able to take care of themselves with certain resources and certain, like hearing aids or like sleep aids or things like that, just because people are doing that doesn't mean their life's going to be peachy keen. Like, life can be tough. Life can be tough. It can be fun, but it can be tough. So you are not weak. You are not weak for needing those things, my love. You're not weak for needing help. You're not weak for needing to reach out. You're not weak if there is something you're really struggling to do and you're like, how do I do this? I need the help. Some of the most impressive people that we see in their fields today received help. They needed to. In some case, they received help. Vocalists, 32 minutes and 23 seconds as I say this, vocalists, musicians, there are a lot of people who I've heard some people say, well, I did everything myself to get to where I'm getting to. Well, you didn't do everything yourself, because for you to be in a position where you have fans means your fans supported your work. We always, in some capacity, are being touched and influenced, appropriately, by other people around us. This is why, for me, community is such a big deal. I'm constantly like, community, like in my daily life. And it's because I believe we've spent so much time focusing on, finding the one in this society. It's like, you want to be married, like that's the goal. You want to have kids, that's the goal. But we didn't really focus on building and maintaining and being a part of communities. And I think that's such an incredibly important thing. I think it's one of the reasons that there is this like loneliness. 33 minutes and 33 seconds as I'm about to say this. I think this is why people are experiencing or have been experiencing a loneliness epidemic. And COVID did not help when all of the lockdowns were happening in various places. Florida did not take that stuff seriously. But I think people need community, and I think community and friendship and those types of relationships are fulfilling in a way that a romantic relationship alone is not going to fulfill. And even though I'm in my lover girl era and I'm very, very like in love, and I'm still excited, and I can still like sense his presence, like I know that that's on its way to me, I am very grateful for, let's piece of my head. I'm very grateful for my friends that I have right now. Because once I separated from my partner, it really was my friends. It was family, but it was also friends. It was the community that helped me come out of like a really dark place where I was like, what am I doing? Do I even need to be here? Where is my worth? Where am I going? So leaning on other people and leaning on your community is important. I saw a post and it was like a therapist was saying, so you think it's weak to lean on your friends? And the person is like, yeah. And the therapist goes, but you know who else leans on their friends? Aragorn, son of Gondor, king of Gondor. He leans on his friends. And do you think he's weak? And the person's like, No. If you haven't seen Lord of the Rings, it's incredible. I mean, I get that the time that it came out was like, for me, a lot of it is the nostalgia. I'm not gonna lie. A lot of the stuff I like, it's because of nostalgia. If you look at it from like an objective standpoint, there's a lot of it that's not good. So like me, I loved the old school Mortal Kombat movies. I was such a big fan. I loved the characters. I think they were fully embodied. I don't think the new Mortal Kombat movies did it justice, personally. I loved the old ones. I was like, yes, Sonya Blade is perfect in her black turtleneck and black jeans. That in the film, it's a continuity error because when she has her fight, she cut the legs off of her jeans because she was like, I ain't got to change the clothes because I was randomly kidnapped on this boat to come here. But then in the next scene, in the next fight that happens, she's back to having the long jeans. And I was like, oh no, continuity error. But I still love the movies. They're still amazing. I don't know how we got there. Oh, yes, because I was talking about Lord of the Rings. I love Lord of the Rings. I'm obsessed. I actually, when I was thinking about the wedding, the dream wedding, the wedding that I would like, I was originally thinking of doing a Lord of the Rings theme, but now that I think about it, I actually don't want to do a Lord of the Rings theme. I think my sister's gonna do a Lord of the Rings theme because she is a super fan. Like, she is such a fan. And she's actually going in, like, to film. Like, that's what she wants to do. So I'm like, you know what? You got it. I'll be in attendance. I'll be able to wear elf ears to the function. I'm very excited about that. I think for my wedding, it's probably going to end up, I mean, I have to meet my man and I have to talk to him. But if he's any type of nerd like I am, I want to do a video game theme. And it doesn't have to be like a singular video game. It could be like video games in general. There is a way to do this where it's not tacky. And I'm going to figure out how. But yes, bringing it back to you. You are not weak for needing help. You're not. 37 minutes and 37 seconds as I say that. You are not weak for needing help. You are human. You are a part of an ecosystem. You are a part of the planet. The air that you breathe helps the trees around you. You know? Like, so much of what we have and what we are as human beings, we are a part of this world. And this is one of the reasons why I'm like, people really should, come on now, clean up the planet. Let's help her. Let's help Mother Earth. Tree hugger? I mean, yes, because I like to breathe and trees provide oxygen. So why? I always thought that insult was stupid as fuck because it's like, what? Oh, so you're saying you don't like oxygen? You think you so badass that you don't need oxygen? Okay, all right. Sure thing. Sure thing, Pally. But yes, ask for help when you're struggling. Now, I know that there are some of you out there who do not have people 38 minutes and 38 seconds as I say this. So I know there's some of you out there that do not have that type of support in family and friends. Either you don't have many friends and your family sucks, or you don't really have a family and you don't really, like, the people who you're around are like acquaintances and they kind of suck, or you're just kind of alone right now because maybe you've moved to like a different country or you've moved to a different state because you were starting over potentially last year and now you're in a place where you're kind of like, well, I don't really know what to do now. Seek out community. Seek it out. There are free groups that you can join. For those of you who like games, look up venues in your area locally that host game nights where they will do tabletop games. And if those places don't exist, for those of you who are introverts, I know you're gonna hate this because I hated it when I heard it. Be that person. Go online, create a group on Instagram or create a group on TikTok. I mean, TikTok's a big one. Again, I don't know if TikTok's gonna be here after January 15th, but we'll see what happens. But create it. My best friend actually she is a connector. and she's a connector. So she likes to create groups in order to bring people together and to create safe spaces for them. And I admire her so much for this. I love you so much for this because I know you're going to watch this video at some point. My love, I love you so much for doing this, for connecting people, for bringing people together, for creating safe spaces. Yes, you will always have a couple bad apples, but it does not spoil the bunch. It does not spoil the whole bunch, because there are people who they do need that safe space that you provide. Now, that's not to say that you have to do it because nobody else will, but if you have the energy and the time, why not do it? Why not create an online group where people can come and play card games? For those of you that don't know, Discord is actually a pretty great tool to use in order to connect with other people. You can literally go online on Google and you can look up Discord or online groups for free that do hobbies that you're interested in. So if you like playing like Uno, you can play Uno online with people. There's just so much stuff. There's like Connect 4, there are other free games like golf tournaments online and things like that. There's so many free resources out here. So if you are a person who is feeling particularly alone and you're trying to find communities of people to lean on, you can look this up. Go on Google and look up communities that support people like yourself, whatever you're interested in. Whether it be your ethnicity, so if you're looking for people who have a shared cultural experience, you can find those people. Whether it be the types of hobbies that you like, whether it be the types of topics that you're struggling with, you can find those too. I just think now 2025 I think is not just a good year for you to be successful. It's not just a good year to find love. I think it's also a good year to lean into community. I was talking to my sisters a couple hours ago, and we were discussing how interesting it is that some people are actually successfully doing the barter system now. So there's some estheticians, that word has always been hard for me to say. Estheticians, people who do nails, people who do hair, people who do makeup, people who do lashes, things like that. And more of them, instead of accepting monetary payment, are accepting acts of service or accepting other things. So somebody, my sister had one of her friends, or not one of her friends, no, I was about to lie to y'all. My mother's lash tech from years ago was like, oh yeah, I had this person come in, and my mom was like, whoa, like, where'd you get all this really nice decor in your office and stuff? And she was like, oh, I did a barter situation. And she was like, I did this person's lashes for free, and they furnished my office with new stuff that they had lying around. There are people who it's like, okay, listen, so I can't pay for this, but do you need me to babysit your kids for you? I know that that's kind of like a jump for some people, because you're like, I don't know you like that. I don't want you watching my kids. And I get it, but it's just an example. But the community really is rising up and saying, we're tired. We're tired of being isolated. We're tired of constantly being pitted against each other. I love to see people supporting people. 43 minutes and 43 seconds as I say that. Ooh, we're on a roll in this video with the double numbers. I love to see y'all supporting each other. I love seeing small channels grow because people are subscribing, people are donating, people are helping out. At some point, somebody I knew made a GoFundMe, and an older person that I knew was like, why are people making GoFundMes? Just get a job and make the money. I'm like, yeah, you can get a job and make the money, but why not ask your community for help? What's wrong with that? It's like, well, I'm working super hard. Well, I get that. And I guess this is just where I am different now than I used to be, because I used to have that mentality. I used to have the mentality of, well, they can do for themselves. And I definitely think that if you are moved to leave people alone, 44 minutes and 44 seconds as I say this, if you are moved to leave people alone and to let them help themselves, follow that nudge. There are a lot of people who they're wanting to help, but it's actually not for the right reasons. They want to be a savior. They want to be acknowledged. They want their ego to be stroked for why they are helping people. My sister had like a thing that she told me one morning. She woke up and she was like, bro, I had this thought that just hit me. And she said, some people value self-sacrifice over the success of the group or success of all involved. So some people, it is more important for them to be self-sacrificing and for them to be the person who figures things out than it is important for everything to be cohesive and for everybody to actually be happy. As an example, here's an example of that in play. Say you go out with a group and 45 minutes and 45 seconds as I said this. This is crazy. So say you go out with a group and you guys all want to, go get some food at a restaurant. And one of your friends says, well, I'll pay for everybody. And everybody's like, well, you don't have to do that because we each have money and we're about to run up a tab. And people are like, yeah, I plan on getting multiple drinks while I'm out. So no, I can appreciate you wanting to do that, but we've got it. You're on your way, you're in the car, and this person says yet again, no, like, I want to cover, I can do it, I can cover everybody. And everybody's like, yo, you don't have to do that. If you really want to, you can, but you don't have to. We're good. You guys get to the restaurant, everybody runs up that bill, and when the bill comes, the person pays it, and then they're moaning, and they're bitching about it. And they're like, I just didn't. I did it for you guys because I care about you guys, because I love you guys. And everybody's like, so we said you didn't have to. Everybody had themselves. Everybody understood that they were paying for themselves, yet you kept pushing the issue. I guarantee you somebody in this chat knows somebody like that. Or knows maybe a couple people like that, where they are pushing to give under the guise of, oh, like, I care about everybody, but it's not really that you care about everybody. It's more that you want to be seen as a savior. Your self-sacrifice, your martyrdom, if you will, is what you're more focused on. And when it comes to those types of situations, if you find that you are that person, I would say take a couple steps back and reevaluate why you give, because you always want to be giving from a place of calmness, a place of peace, a place of you are moved to give, and you will not make that other person responsible for you giving to them. So for me, I'll tell people, if they're like, hey, do you need, money, or do you need X, Y, and Z? I'm like, if I didn't ask for it, and you want to give it to me, my dad's grandfather used to say this. If I give you something, I'm giving it to you with the understanding that I'm not getting it back and that I have it to give. You will not hear from me. You will not hear me complain about the fact that I gave it to you. Me giving it is me giving it. And so for me, growing up, I had quite a few family members who they would give me things, but then later they would expect me to do things for them. And so it was kind of like a trick. It was like, well, I'm giving you this thing under the guise that you're going to do something for me later. So I stopped accepting things. It's actually one of the reasons vulnerability time, it's one of the reasons I struggle with receiving. One of the big things I've been needing to focus on is correcting the imbalance of my giving to receiving ratio. I have been a people pleaser my entire life. I was raised to be a people pleaser. It was religion, it was society, it was family, it was everything. And if you're watching this video, odds are you've been a people pleaser too, or you may be still a people pleaser and you're finally realizing that you're overextending and that you don't have the stamina to do this for too much longer. But I have been a people pleaser pretty much my entire life up until 4 months ago. And I still have moments where I'm like, I should do this because, I just know that they would want this done. But it's like, are you doing it because you have it to give and it's out of the goodness of your heart and you're never going to bring it up again? Or are you going to start to resent this person because they don't do things in return for you? If you do not have it to give, do not give it. And the reason I say that is, I know that, there are exceptions to every rule, But if you know that by giving this thing, you're going to resent the person or you're going to be upset, it's important to evaluate how important it is for you to give. And it's weird because typically you would think the issue for a lot of people is that they're constantly taking, they're constantly being selfish. And in fact, I actually have seen the opposite. A lot of the people I know are givers to the point where they have nothing left. To the point where they're sick all the time, or they're broke all the time. And when I'm like, what's going on? I'm finding out they're not giving out of the kindness of their heart. They're not giving out of a healthy sense of giving. They're giving because they feel obligated or because they're afraid that they will be punished for not giving. And as I say that, I know somebody's going to understand what I mean by that. To be punished for not giving. When it comes to giving, and when it comes to receiving, when it comes to leaning on your community, when it comes to recognizing that you are not weak, the base truth for those things is having a healthy sense of self, bringing yourself up to a fullness so that you are overflowing. So as you are showing up in this world, you're doing so from a place of power where you can empower others, and you can be happy about it, and you can feel good about it. It's such a better experience to do anything after you've had a full night's sleep. Try to do excruciating work with zero sleep. Zero. Like, try. I mean, don't actually try. I want y'all to be healthy out here. But I'm just, I'm being extra kind of to make a point. But the thing is that when you are feeling good and when you take care of your body and when you take care of your soul and your spirit, you do way more good. You can still do good when you're tired. You can still do good when you are unhealed and when you're on your way there. And, excuse me, that was a big one. You can still do those things. But how much better, how much more fulfilling would it be if you focused on making sure that you were in a place where you feel like you can do so without sacrificing so much of yourself? I think it's good to give. I think it's good to help. I don't know if being a martyr is healthy. I don't know. I have not seen people who are martyrs who are healthy. I've not seen people who are martyrs who sleep well. I've not met people who are martyrs who actually have solid relationships. Because what usually ends up happening to martyrs is people tend to use them. They understand, this person gives, this person overgives, this person seems to almost feel guilty for not giving. So I'm going to use this person up. I'm going to take them up through there. I'm going to use them up for everything they have. I've seen it happen. And I've seen people be left with nothing. And they're like, what's going on? And it's not until they sit down and go, okay, I've got to set some boundaries with people. I got to let them know, here, I am all for giving, but at this point, do not pass this line. Do not pass go. Do not collect 200. Back up. I'll get back to you later. I don't think I'm the only person who struggles with the give and the take thing. This is a pretty interesting video because I feel kind of like it's a rant. Like, I feel like I'm ranting almost, but I'm not really upset. I'm just very passionate about these topics because I've met a lot of good people who for years, and a lot of these people I know are they're much older than me. And by much older than me, I'm talking 60s, 70s. They are suffering and they don't have the relationships that they thought that they had because people used them all the way up until they got older and couldn't be used anymore, and then those people disappeared. At the end of the day, it is incredibly important to have a healthy sense of self. And leaning on your community, like starting out leaning on your community, I think is one way to begin because you kind of have that support. But then the goal is for you to become that support as you become healthier. Like, and as you're kind of growing in your sense of self. Bro, I just be yapping. I really do just be yapping. I mean, if any of that resonated with you, good. If it didn't resonate with you, or if it was confusing, or if I said a lot of contradicting things, my bad. Again, I am a human being. I make mistakes. And, you know, when you're talking to yourself for an hour, you cover a lot of ground sometimes. Sometimes you cover no ground at all and you're just talking in circles. 55 minutes and 22 seconds is an odd number. That's weird. I don't know if those numbers are significant to anybody. But, yeah, these are, man, and I'm so sleepy right now, but these are things I am very passionate about because I see you all. I see people overextending themselves. I see people not having that healthy balance where they give of themselves until they have nothing left. I've seen where people don't lean on their community and they try to. 55 minutes and 55 seconds as I say this. Geez, I see where people they push down their emotions. Bill Burr made a joke about this. He's a comedian, for those of you that don't know. Bill Burr. And he, to me, is one of the funniest people out there right now. I love him. I think he's hilarious. And he had made a joke about the fact that he, as a man, tends to push things deep, deep down. When they start to come up and he starts to feel like he's going to cry, he pushes it deep, deep down and he doesn't deal with it. And while it was a funny joke, this is the reality for a lot of people. It was the reality for me for a very long time before I started this vulnerability tour. And it is the reality for a lot of people. Some of you watching this video, you do not share your emotions with other people, and probably for good reason. Most likely you grew up in a situation where it was not safe for you to experience emotion and for you to share your emotions. And for that, I'm so sorry. Because having that support and having that ability to communicate how you really feel is super important. Growing up, because of the nature of things, I didn't always have that. I didn't always have the people who were willing to sit down and listen to a kid who is potentially on the spectrum try to work through their emotions. It's exhausting. Like, you know, you're working your ass off and you get home and your kid's really trying to lock it in. I get where that would be tough. Or, you know, your nieces or your nephews. Like, I understand that can be a tough space if you are struggling and you can't provide it. I think that's why it's so important to focus on healing and being better, because then we can increase the number of people who are able to assist others. And I think that's happening. I do. I think I'm seeing a lot more people who have the time. So it's like people who, once they've gotten to a point where they feel like they're successful, they are giving back. They're doing outreach. They're providing the space for people to come and eat or to have parties or, you know, whatever. But, oof, goodness gracious. Man, I really am so tired. And it's like, just turn off the video and go to bed. But I love yapping. I would rather die. No, I'm kidding. I feel like there's a lot of good stuff in this one, though. Like, in this video in particular, I feel like my last couple of videos, because I've been so low energy, what's coming through is a bit more serious than what I would usually prefer. If I'm being vulnerable, I like doing videos where I'm joking a lot. I prefer to do videos where I'm singing and where I'm kind of like do. Like, that's actually where I'm at usually. But then these times happen where I'm very low energy. I'm very like, I'd prefer to sleep all day if possible. Like, I'm so glad it's the weekend. And I have no idea what time it is. I'm probably at 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning right now. But for those of you who are watching this video, I love you guys. I love you guys so much. And I apologize if my delivery is ever rough or if my delivery is a bit like curt, but I am merely passionate about these things. And doing these videos is helping me on such a crazy level. And again, I've had people reach out to me and tell me that they are moved to do certain things and they are moved to get off their ass. And that I love. That I absolutely adore. Like, it makes me so happy to hear and to see that people are moving in a direction that is good for them. And I think, again, because I'm like very in love right now, I think I'm just, and I've never felt in love before. So experiencing all these really big emotions recently has been strange. It's been very new for me. And so I think that's why I'm very passionate right now about people taking care of themselves. I'm passionate about people drinking their water. I'm passionate about people, you know, having good friends around them or taking their time as far as, like taking their time to figure out what it is they want to do. And I really just want you all to be happy. At the end of the day, I just want you all to feel fulfilled. I want you to feel happy. I want you to feel blessed. I want you to feel loved. I want for you everything that you want for yourself and more. Like, if I had all the money in the world, I would do a live. All the money in the world. I would do a live and I would just be like, what do y'all need? What student loans need to be paid? What bills need to be paid? Because being in a place of peace and doing all of the very difficult shadow work that I have done has brought me to a place where I just naturally want to give. I naturally want to be of service. And it's weird because I didn't used to be. I was a people pleaser, yes, but being a people pleaser is not based in wanting to take care of people. Being a people pleaser ordinarily is based in fear. It's fear of abandonment. It can be fear of loneliness. People pleasing can be a fear of conflict. So you want everybody to be happy, so you try to keep the peace. And like working through that and finally being in a place where I'm setting appropriate boundaries, and I typically get really good rest, and I'm eating well these days, and like the joy that I have, I simply want to share with other people. Like I tell my sister all the time, I'm like, yo, if I could just put my hand on your head and just, what do you wish for? I would give it. And that's probably why I don't have everything, because there needs to be balance. There are people who I would probably give money to and that probably wouldn't be great for them. They probably would need to learn lessons or something. But I've said in like 2 other videos, you guys have no idea how powerful you are. And maybe you have an inkling if you're watching this video. But you have so much power. And some of you in this life have given so much of it away to other people. Whether because of fear, whether because of wanting other people to feel powerful, and you were like, well, I don't really need it. You know, whatever the reason may be, I think a good practice is to call that power back to you. To sit there and to, you know, I'm moved to actually do a little something with you right now. So, we're gonna take a couple deep breaths. Right now, I would like to call down for you, if you accept it, is fulfillment. I would like to call into your life fulfillment. And I would like to send energy to you spirit bomb, if you will. I would like to send all of the energy to you so that you can take your power back. May my voice in this video, as you hear it, may these vibrations go into your brain, into your skull, and may they trigger something within you that brings your power back to you in full. That is my hope and desire for you. I always love speaking blessings onto people's life and speaking praise onto their journey. But I want love to meet you there. I want power to meet you there. Fulfillment, growth, understanding. I wish this for you on your behalf. I want that for you. I really do. It's so weird. It's so weird to be in my closet talking to my phone, but to feel that somebody is listening to the words coming out of my mouth right now, and they are feeling what I'm saying. Because we really are connected. We are. There are people who they're not locked in. They're not locked in like we are. So they're like, this is some bullshit. And they go elsewhere. And then they don't get to experience the magic that we get to experience as a result. Before you go to bed at night, something I would like for you to try, and then I'm going to shut the hell up and I'm going to go to bed, is I want you to practice calling all of your power back to you, all of your energy. I want you to call it back from relationships that did not work out. I want you to call it back from jobs that didn't work out or that laid you off. I want you to call it back from familial relationships where you were mistreated and where you kept giving and you kept giving and you kept giving, or where you're still doing that and it's not helping. I want you to call all your power back from those situations. I want you to call your 7 minutes and 7 seconds as I say this. I want you to call your power back from being in that restaurant where the person said enjoy and you said you too. I want you to call all that power back to yourself before you go to sleep. And then as you are falling asleep, I want you to imagine what the most powerful version of yourself looks like. I want you to try to imagine that version of you. How do you talk? How do you walk? How do you sing? How do you carry yourself? How do you eat? What do you eat? That version of you that is powerful beyond measure, that recognizes your value, your power, your attractiveness. What does that person act like? How do they act? And what would they say to you? Because I believe that that version of you does exist. It exists on your path. It exists somewhere on your path. So you have access to speak to that version of yourself. It might seem crazy at first. You're in your room talking to yourself, or you're in your car talking to yourself. But I want you to imagine that. That's your homework. That's your homework for however many 24 hours before my next video comes out, if you plan to watch it. That is a practice that I would like for you to do. And in the morning when you wake up, if you can, remember to feel the feelings of gratitude for the power that you have, for the freedom that you have. Even if that's not what you're feeling right now, I want you in the mornings to start waking up to the idea and to the reality that you truly are powerful and that people cannot stand in your way. If you knew what you were capable of realizing, once you realize your power, once you realize your attractiveness, once you realize your determination and your willpower, and you tap into that, 9 minutes and 19 seconds as I say that, you will be absolutely shocked, stunned, and amazed. You will stunt all over these hoes. You guys are awesome. You guys are amazing. Again, as I always say, you do not have to subscribe, like, or comment on this video. I do like to see comments because I like to see you guys' thoughts. Somebody asked me something. What did they say? I was asked if I was on TikTok, and I answered that question. Somebody asked a question. Somebody asked if I do tarot card readings. I do them for myself. I do not do them for other people. Because other people, that's just not what I'm moved to do. I'm just not moved to do that. What was the other question? I can't put my finger on it. I can't remember what the question was, but I will read it, and maybe in tomorrow night's video I will answer said question. I want to say it was something about, like, I'm really drawing a blank. I'm drawing a whole blank right now. But anyways, I think I've been here. I think I said at some point, I'm going to say this one thing and then I'm going to shut the hell up. We all knew that wasn't going to happen. We all knew I was going to keep yapping. We all understood what the assignment was. I'm really trying to figure out what that question was. Yeah, I don't remember. I'll look it up tomorrow and I'll get back to you. I'll get back to you guys. Ooh, an hour, 11 minutes, and 11 seconds. As I say, I will get back to you guys tomorrow night about whatever that question was. I love you guys, and I will see you guys later. To those of you who are watching this video and you have decided to subscribe, or you just subscribed, welcome on my yapping journey, and I hope you get comfortable and that you're happy here. That's my hope. And if you're just passing through, I don't know how you'd be passing through at an hour and 11 minutes in, but it was nice to have you. Good to see you. And I will holler at you guys tomorrow night sometime, unless something else happens. Have an amazing morning, afternoon, evening.